Well, I know that you're probably disappointed. Can't hear?
Please welcome to the podium next year's operating chair of Lone Star P.E.T.S, the 2007-2008 District Governor from 5830, John Jeter.
Well, I'm sure with great disappointment you hear the following phrase. Welcome to the final session for Rotary Lone Star P.E.T.S for this year. Please stand, and Ryan Anderson will lead us in the singing of our national anthem, and remain standing for the pledge.
Ready? There we go. Please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Ryan. Please welcome to the podium DGE Gary Gillen from District 5990, who will lead us. My goodness. Lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Gary. And now I'm pleased to welcome to the podium DGE Betsy Robinson from District 5910, who will offer the invocation.
Please join me in a moment of reflection and thanks. With our friends beside us and no person beneath us, with the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us, with our goals before us and no task beyond us, with a thirst for knowledge and a dream for a polio-free world, we are thankful for our Rotary friends and the meal we are about to share. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Betsy, and please be seated and enjoy your meal. Wow, that light is really bright. How it's going.
Please welcome to the podium next year's operating chair of Lone Star Pets, the 2007-2008 District Governor from 5830, John Jetter.
Well, have you enjoyed your meal? You bet. Let me introduce to you Jose Cruz and his crew that has been the wait staff for this evening. Let's all give them a big hand. Haven't they been great? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd also like to point out our audiovisual crew, headed by Esteban Blanco. Give them a hand. And the start of the program, which was just a little bit fuzzy, was my fault, not theirs. Give them a hand again, please. Let me introduce the head table. Participants from my left and your right. Ryan Anderson is our Chief Ranger and Song Leader. To me, he's also known as Deputy Dog. Next lady is Betsy Robinson, the District Governor-elect from District 5910. Betsy. Then we have Anita Smallwood, who is the wife of Andy Smallwood. Give her a hand, please. Then past Rotary International Director and the member of the Board of Trustees of Lone Star Pets, Andy Smallwood. To my left here is past Rotary International President Rick King, and he'll be introduced more formally a little bit later. From my right and your left, past District Governor Ian Sullivan, who is the operating chair for this year and a member of the Board of Trustees. Next to him is Jan Sullivan, his wife. Give Jan a welcome. Then District Governor-elect Gary Gillen from District 5890. Then Janice Gillen, wife of Gary Gillen. And right here is my beautiful wife, Frida. She had a small accident with the vanishing cream. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't get back home. And I'm John Jetter, past District Governor 2007-2008 from District 5830, and I'm next year's operating chair. Thank you. Let me call to the podium Hollis Lackey. Hollis, where are you? Oh, right behind me for a special presentation.
Well, good evening, Rotarians. Can you hear my voice? Help me out. Okay, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my privilege to recognize this year, our Director of Operations, and that is none other than Ian Sullivan. It's operating chair. Okay, here we go. Hey, Ian, congratulations.
Thank you all so much for the honor. This has been an honor to be in this position this year. The team was incredible. The entire operating committee, including the entire class of the district governors-elect. We had an awful lot of meetings. We got tired of seeing each other on GoToMeeting, but I think you would agree that it was worth it. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ian. Well, let me welcome to the podium for the introduction of our keynote speaker, past Rotary International Director, Andy Smallwood.
Okay, they told me this was the formal introduction. I wore a tie. It is my pleasure to introduce past RI President Richard D. King. All right, Rick has been in Rotary. He just celebrated with a big party 50 years as a Rotarian.
Wow.
In that 50 years, okay, the bio is in your program. I'm just gonna hit some of the high points. Besides doing everything in Rotary, he's done everything else in his community. He has taught law at Brigham Young University. He has a successful law firm. He's a singer. He's done pretty much everything. He's a director of the Philharmonic, the City of Hope. He's a director. Okay, Rotary. Yes, he was a president-elect, just like you were at one time. Served as president of, was it Niles Fremont Rotary at the time?
San Lorenzo.
San Lorenzo he was president of. He's currently a member of Niles Fremont. One of the big things that he did that I think will be remembered for a long time of what he did when he was RI president, he made membership a focus, and we had 75,000 net Rotarian growth that year. Never had done that many and haven't done that many since. One new club was formed virtually every 6 hours.
8 hours.
All right, pretty incredible. Now, besides all of this stuff that he's done, let me just tell you a personal thing. I've known him pretty much since forever. I met him in 1986. Anita and I went to a district conference in Corpus Christi. Now, it was her first district conference, and I had dropped in on one once before. It wasn't the thing that we did. And our club president said, if you're going to be on the board of directors, you're required to go to district conference. Well, he was a big guy. I believed him. We went. I never was impressed too often with speakers. And I had developed this technique. Well, back up a little. I'm reading the bio about Rick, and here he is, successful attorney. He's also been a Las Vegas performer. He's married to a drop-dead gorgeous wife, Sherry. he had at that time, and probably still does, perfectly layered, combed hair that had never, ever seen humidity. A great speaker's voice. He is, you name it, he's done it. And so I'm reading this bio, and I say it was from California. You know, there are just some people you know that when you meet them, you're just not gonna like them. And so I had developed this technique in school and listened to speakers. I build an invisible brick wall, and it's soundproof. I can sit there and look like I'm the most attentive person in the audience, and my mind is 1,000 miles away. So when Rick started, he had that smooth voice, and I just knew he was gonna get into my billfold. And so I built the wall, and my mind has drifted away, and that voice kept kind of just sinking through, and all of a sudden it seemed like he was taking down bricks faster than I was putting them back up. And I just said, you know, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna listen to this guy, and at the end of it, if he says write a check, I guess I will do it. I'll probably own a warehouse full of Amway, but I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it. And you know, he finished that speech. He never asked me for any money. All he really ever asked me for is to be the best Rotarian I could possibly be. And you know, that's just not a bad thing. So let's give a big Oklahoma and Texas welcome to, I think, is one of the best speakers on anywhere, Richard D. King.
Thank you very much. I'm always a little nervous when people stand up. I'm afraid they're leaving, and I've got something more to say. I want to thank just 2 or 3 people who are always so nice to me when I come here to this P.E.T.S. Brian Anderson picks me up in a Rolls Royce or another car, and he sings songs to me, and I like him very much. Anita and Andy Smallwood have been friends of mine and my wife for many, many years. I believe that Anita deserves a medal for having been married to Andy for this long. And I'm grateful to Hollis Lackey for making me feel so welcome every time I come here. I don't know what his position is, but he's a good guy, whatever it is. And I want to congratulate all of you for being here as presidents-elect. You obviously missed the meeting where they chose the next year's president, and here you are. And it probably is coming as somewhat of a shock to you to realize that your current club president was actually trained how to be a club president at this thing last year. There's a lot of Rotary brass at this particular P.E.T.S. I've been to P.E.T.S. all over the world many times over, and this, in my opinion, is just about the best there is anywhere on the planet. It's well organized, well executed, well done, and it has a lot of Rotary brass. We have past district governors, district governors, district governors-elect, district governors nominee, district governors nominee designate, area governors, assistant governors, lieutenant governors, and the rest of you, if you missed that meeting too, you'll be a governor. The job of the district governor is not easy. He or she has got to go to every club in the district. That's a lot of lousy lunch, wonderful club meetings. And among other things, the governor puts out a monthly newsletter. These are normally done electronically these days, but I still get paper newsletters that are kept up in my sauna bath in my home in Silicon Valley where I live. And at midnight, my wife's gone to bed, the dogs have gone to bed, and I slip into my finished sauna, stark naked, sweating, and I read and study the Rotary Manual of Procedure. I tell you, that's a dull book. And I read newsletters that come to me from governors from all over the world. And one that caught my attention not so long ago is called the Peace Arts Journal, District 5050. Half of its clubs are in British Columbia, and half of them are in the state of Washington. And what caught my attention as I was sitting in the sauna, stark naked, sweating, was it says, in praise of past district governors. And I thought, isn't that wonderful? Because we don't praise PDGs very often. So I thought maybe I'd read this article. There's not much accurate in it. But there is a photograph of the guy who wrote the article right here on the front page. And he'd only been in Rotary 6 months when he wrote this article at the invitation of the district governor. And I read the article and I thought, boy, this is not right. And I was going to write him and tell him that he ought to get his facts straight, when somebody pointed out to me that this guy who's been in Rotary 6 months, who wrote this article, was a federal judge. So I wrote him a letter telling him what a great article it was, because in my business, it pays to be on the side of federal judges. In tribute to the many governors that are here tonight supporting the club presidents, I want to read just 2 or 3 paragraphs from this article. Now remember, he'd only been in Rotary 6 months. He was a federal judge, so he's allowed certain leeway. And there are a lot of inaccuracies here. You may be able to spot some of them out, but anyway, let me read you a couple of things. Rotary International has more than 1 million members worldwide. It is estimated, though not confirmed, that there are approximately 900,000 past district governors all over the place. Why is this? Well, the ordinary member of a club, a usual Rotarian, like other individuals in society, dies when his or her time comes. Not so with PDGs, who simply do not die, which accounts for the relatively large percentage of them with respect to the total membership. How are the district governors chosen, you may ask? And I know a couple of you were asking me that just a little while ago, wondering how the heck your governor was. Well, that's another speech anyway. The actual selection process was and is mysterious, and no one seems to know for sure where these people come from. The research in this all-important area is continuing, but based on the profile of the 953 PDGs in our district, however, he's off by 943. One can assume the following. First, you must be a Rotarian of at least 35 years and have perfect attendance during those 35 years. Second, you must have a personally autographed picture of Paul Harris hanging over your mantle. Third, you must have a terrific sense of humor. Fourth, everything in your house and business must have a Rotary logo on it, even your pajamas. Sherry and I have a rotary wheel in the ceiling above the bed where we sleep every night. It lights up every 2 or 3 hours. We sleep with an Alaskan Malamute and an Australian cattle dog. Now, that's not another Rotarian, that's a big hairy dog. And when this rotary wheel lights up, it starts to sing my theme song when I was president. You want a picture? Wait a minute. Sing out a song of Rotary, we're in the business of mankind. We star the earth as regal eagles, new members each to find. The dog puts his paws over hers, goes, ow! And the Malamute jumps down and starts applauding. Fifth, your spouse must want to follow you to the ends of the earth, even to the district conference. Six, you must be able to make the same bad speech 122 times without her giving it right. Seven, you must be able to eat rubber chicken every meal for a year. 8, you must have retired after selling out your business for $20 million or gone bankrupt, one or the other. Now, the job of district governor, he says, is not all cookies, of course. There is considerable hardship incurred with the job. For example, the average weight gain of district governors during that year, what with constant banqueting and excessive drinking, is roughly 28 pounds, and even more for the spouses. Sociologists and geriatric consultants to Rotary International have concluded the spouses have particular trouble because they've got to listen to the same lousy speech 122 times and often engage in compensatory eating. I once knew a district governor's wife who gained 5 pounds each week for a year. Now, if she just avoids various foundation dinners, district conferences, and her husband's speeches, she can keep her weight normal. But then he gets very serious. None of this answers the question, however, why past district governors are so venerated, so respected, and so loved. Again, I'm not certain, but I think there is something just so lovable about a PDG sitting at his specially reserved table, mumbling the four-way test as his face slowly lowers into the P's. Now, I can tell you there is some truth to this problem of weight gain. When I got through toward the end of my year as governor in Silicon Valley 40 years ago, I was coming out of the shower one morning with a towel around me that wouldn't reach. My wife was a famous dancer in Hollywood and Las Vegas. I saw her cross the stage one day when I was performing in Las Vegas. She was wearing her dance costume. And I thought to myself, there goes a girl who really ought to be married to a Rotarian. She's physically fit. And I was standing there dripping wet with a towel around me that wouldn't reach. And I could tell by the look on her face we were going to have a conversation that I wasn't going to enjoy. We did, and I didn't. She went over to Woolworths. In those days, we had Woolworths. And she bought a little trampoline for $29.95. You don't get a big trampoline for $29.95. It's about a third the size of that round table. And she stuck it up in the corner of our bedroom underneath the rotary wheel in the ceiling. And it looked like a little spaceship from Mars. And I said, sweetie, what do you do with that? She says, you jump up and down on it every morning, and you'll get fit. I couldn't think of anything I'd rather let's do. But I thought, what the heck, I love my wife, I'll jump. Because I'm not as dumb as I look, I'll tell you that. So I began jumping up and down on this trampoline every morning, and I hated every minute of it. But I discovered on the third morning they've got great reruns of Leave It to Beaver. And on the third morning, I got so engrossed in the plot that I came down on the edge of the trampoline instead of in the middle, and I broke my leg. And I was so happy this happened after only 3 days. And of course, when you break your leg, you got to wear a cast. And I knew that the Rotary clubs wanted their governor to show up and give his speeches. They would really miss me if I didn't. So I wore a cast, and I got get-well cards from Rotary Club presidents who respected me, loved me, cherished me as their district governor, the way I know you're going to do for your governor next year. And one I've kept close to my heart all these years, a get-well card. The president of the Rotary Club took the time out of his very busy presidential year to write me a personal get-well message. Dear Governor Rick, we'd like you to know but the Rotary Club of San Lorenzo, California, by a vote of 17 to 15, hopes you recover. Which I thought was a landslide considering that club. Touching P.S. on here, we were going to send you flowers, but that lost 5 to 27. I've heard and studied in my lifetime many definitions of leadership. The one that has impressed me the most is this: a leader is somebody who influences somebody else to do something. Influence. Leadership is influence. And Rotary seeks the uncommon leader to serve as the president of a Rotary Club. Because the work of Rotary is done in a club. The Rotary Club president is the most important Rotary person in the world. It's done there or it isn't done at all. After all, the Rotary Club president has a big job. You next year are the membership recruitment chairman, the membership orientation chairman, the membership assimilation chair, membership retention chair, membership extension chair. You are our expert next year in the vocational service, international service, club service, community service, youth service, club bulletins, club meetings, club public relations, club attendance, club finances, club fundraising, club social activities, club assembly, club programs, club projects, getting your members to attend the district conference, getting your members to attend the district assembly. You are the expert next year in the Rotary Foundation, Paul Harris Fellows, Paul Harris Sustaining Members, benefactors, major donors, group study exchange, vocational exchange, youth exchange, friendship exchange, district grants, community grants, global grants, Polio Plus, Interact, Early Act, Youth Act, Rotaract, RILA, Rotary Village Corps, pilot programs, the Peace Forums, disaster relief, World Community Service, Foundation Scholars, wheelchairs, future vision, strategic plan, substance abuse, not yours. And on the seventh day, you can rest. That's all you have to do next year. That's why we close the doors, so nobody resigns on the spot. A number of years ago, a former president of the United States, Herbert Hoover, gave a speech, which I have read and reread many times over in my lifetime. I want to read to you just a paragraph from what he had to say. He was talking about leadership. Among the delusions offered us by fuzzy-minded people is that imaginary creature, the common man. It is dinned into us that this is the century of the common man. The uncommon man is to be whittled down to size. It is a negation of individual dignity and a slogan of mediocrity and uniformity. But the greatest strides of human progress have come from uncommon men and uncommon women. The humor of it is, he said, that when we get sick, we want an uncommon doctor. If we have to go to war, we look for the uncommon general or admiral. If we have a child in school, we seek an uncommon teacher, that individual that motivates our child to its greatest potential. When running a business, we want an uncommon salesman, an uncommon manager, an uncommon engineer. When looking for leadership in any area of life, we seek the uncommon. And more than ever before, in our 114-year history, Rotary International seeks the uncommon leader to serve as the president of the Rotary Club. Because the work that we do in Rotary is nothing short of God's work on earth. Every second of the day we make the lame to walk, the blind to see, the deaf to hear. We clothe the naked, we feed the hungry, we heal the sick, we save lives, we bring hope, we bring peace. This is the work in which you are engaged next year. And it seeks the best that you've got. And I can tell you that there's a payback. When I got through being president of my Rotary Club a long time ago, I got a letter from a Rotarian in the club, our chief of police. And among other things, he said in his letter, "Rick, I would follow you anywhere because you made me better than I thought I was. Where would I go? How far would I travel? How much would I pay to get that kind of a reward for having served as president of my Rotary Club?" And I can tell you that if you do the job right, because the work is so important, you will receive an education in cultural relations, international relations, business relations, leadership skills, public speaking skills, social skills that you could not get anywhere, at any price, at any time, at any university, anywhere in the world. This is the payback that comes to the uncommon Rotary Club president. In my judgment, 3 characteristics are necessary to be an uncommon Rotary Club president. First, conviction, what you know. Second, vision, what you see. And third, commitment, what you feel. What do you know about Rotary? If you know something about the organization before you become president, you're ahead of the game. 36,000 Rotary clubs all over the world tonight, in 200 countries and geographical regions of the globe. Protestants and Catholics meeting on the border of Ulster and Ireland, breaking bread together because they wear the Rotary wheel. Muslims and Hindus meeting together on the same borders of Pakistan and India because they wear the same Rotary wheel. And throughout the Middle East, Arabs and Jews breaking bread together because they wear the Rotary wheel and subscribe to the Rotary ideal of service. And this is important for you to recognize, that what we belong to is a vast private United Nations of the world's most powerful citizens. Rotary stands today as the most prestigious, the wealthiest, the most powerful, the most sought-after service club in the history of the human race. I was having dinner on the banks of the Nile in Cairo some time back with an old gentleman, a retired general in the Egyptian army from the Second World War. We were discussing over a wonderful dinner Rotary's role in trying to establish peace in the Middle East. And he said, "You know, Rick, in your part of the world, when you have a problem to solve or you want to do some service, you come together peacefully in the capacity of a Rotary Club and you talk peacefully about how to solve the problem. In my part of the world," he said, "we don't do that. Instead, we kill each other." And then he said, "And Rick, until we have more Rotary clubs in the Middle East, we will never have the peace we so desperately seek. Because Rotary, one-on-one, one human being to another, brings the message of peace. Royalty, heads of state, secretaries of state, foreign ministers, business leaders, educational leaders, religious leaders, cultural leaders, people from all walks of life wear the Rotary wheel tonight, all over the globe. This is the organization which you are called upon to lead next year. It is God's work on earth. It's an important work, and in my judgment, It's the only work we will ever engage, any of us in our lifetimes, that we can take with us when we leave this life. Don't get me wrong, it's important to be successful in our occupations. We have families to feed and mortgages to pay and car payments to make and college educations to provide for and retirements to plan for and all those other things. And I've got my share of all of that. But in my opinion, the only work in which any of us will engage that will outlast us when we leave this life, that we will take with us, is the work that we engage in the business of humanity, in the business of mankind, in the business of Rotary. This is the work we are called upon to engage next year. It is, in my opinion, the most important work you will ever engage. And I plead with you to give it your best, not to waste time, but to be an important and effective uncommon leader. It'll pay off for you, and it'll pay off for the community and the global network in which you live. No success, no matter how many plaques we have on the wall, how much money we have in the bank, how much property we own, how much applause we get from our peers, no success can compensate for if we fail in the business of humanity, in the business of mankind. And I ask you to learn about Rotary, to make it an important part of your intellectual discipline, because it is worth doing well. After you have a conviction that what you're going to do is important, the next step is, what is your vision for your club next year? What do you see? You know, the average Rotary Club is made up of very unaverage people. They are usually above average education, above average income, above average success, above average goal setters, above average, or they wouldn't be in Rotary in the first place. And yet we bring these people, highly educated, highly successful, highly motivated in their personal lives. We bring them to the Rotary Club on Tuesdays at noon, and we start talking to them as if they were in the second grade. We set goals that are so low for the people in our clubs that if we set those goals that low in our businesses or professions or occupations or vocations, we'd go bankrupt. And too many Rotary Clubs are bankrupt in the business of service. I don't know why we do that. These are people that would never set goals so low, but they say we can't get 6 new members to our club next year. We can't increase our per capita giving to the Rotary Foundation. We can't get 20 couples to come to the district conference. We can't. And yet in their personal, business, professional lives, they can, and they do. I was on the original Polio Plus committee a long time ago. We were told that we had the responsibility of raising $125 million in 1 year. That was 4 times more than any amount we'd ever raised before in 1 year in the Rotary Foundation. There were a dozen of us. None of us were professional fundraisers. We didn't know what we were doing. So we hired a professional fundraising organization in New York City. They wanted 10% of the goal as a fee up front. That was $12 million. We thought if we gave them $12 million up front, we'd have to join Kiwanis the following week. We negotiated with them, and we settled on a fee up front of $4 million. Even that was a stretch. And then we said, what do we have to do? And they said, you've got to set a goal for every club in the Rotary world. We did. Rotary clubs did not like it. We got some hate mail. But the success stories are immense. I remember a small club, 30 Rotarians, in a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For 40 years, this club had never been able to raise more than $1,000 annually to the Rotary Foundation. 30 Rotarians. They had a good excuse every year. The steel industry was in recession. The coal industry was in recession. Everybody else was in recession. And when the district governor came around asking for their help, they had a good excuse. And we asked them to raise $100,000. 2.5 times in 1 year what they had raised total in 40 years as a Rotary Club. And this Rotary Club of 30 members who'd been around for 40 years and had never before raised more than $1,000 annually to the Rotary Foundation total for the club, went out and raised $120,000 cash for Polio Plus in 8 weeks. What happened? Same 30 members, same recessions, same club name, same meeting place, same food every week, but a different club president who had the vision to see what that club could do and went out and did it. Now, I realize that when you set goals and you set a business plan to implement those goals, that not everybody in your club is going to love you. Because you have to do 4 things to make it work. You have to set realistic goals. How many new members net? How many? Not something like we're going to do better in membership. That's not a goal. How many new members net are you going to achieve during your reign as president? How much per capita giving increase to the Rotary Foundation? How many couples are you going to get to the district conference? How many are you going to get to the district assembly? How many? What is your specific numerical goal? Then after you set a goal, you've got to set a business plan on how to reach the goal. Every club has got to have a successful business plan. In my law office, we have a chart in the back of my desk. How many people did we sue last month? How many people can we sue next month? You got to have a business plan for every business, whether it's a Rotary Club or otherwise, if you're going to succeed. If you have a couple of members that are naysayers, give them the Luigi treatment. An Italian, optimist, member of my club. He's an optimist because he's bald. He's only got a couple of hair on his head, and yet he goes in every Saturday at 4 o'clock to get his hair cut. The barber is a negative person, a pessimist. So Luigi goes in on Saturday at 4 o'clock to get his 2 hairs cut off. And the barber says, "Why are you so happy today?" Luigi says, "Well, we've saved up our money. My wife and I are going to go to Italy, our ancestral home. The plane will probably crash in the middle of the ocean," says the barber. "They don't maintain them anymore." "Yeah, but when we get there, we're going to have a wonderful time in Italy. Italy is a place where they don't pick up the garbage. Nothing works. Nothing's on time. And on every street corner, those Italians stand around with French bread in their armpits, singing songs, drinking wine, and making love." Which didn't seem like such a bad idea to Luigi. "Yeah, but when we get there, we're going to see the Pope." And the barber just roared. He says, "For heaven's sake, save your money. You'll never get anywhere near the Pope. There's always 250,000 people in front of the Pope." 3 weeks go by, and Luigi comes back in singing to get his 2 hairs cut off. "Well, I see the plane didn't crash. It was wonderful. We had filet mignon wrapped in bacon, and we saw 2 movies. It was great. But I'll bet the country was a mess. We went to the opera. We saw flowers on all the street corners. And in every corner there were Italians standing around with French bread in their armpits, singing songs, drinking wine, and making love. Yeah, but I'll bet you got nowhere near the Pope." And Luigi said, "It was the moment of my life. I put my hands, he put his hands right on my head, and he gave me a papal blessing. And he looked into my eyes, And he said, Luigi, my son, where'd you get that lousy haircut? Just remember, in the words of Fulton J. Sheen, if they're kicking you in the rear next year, you must be out in front. And finally, what is your commitment? I think more things are accomplished by a sense of commitment than intelligence or conviction or knowledge or anything else. What do you feel about what you're going to do next year? I've been a very lucky Rotarian. I've traveled the globe many times over, and I've met many Rotarians who have made me a sense of commitment. I remember one when I was on the board of directors of Rotary about 30 years ago. We were finishing our lunch on the 18th floor of World Headquarters in Evanston, and an old man came walking in, bent over on a cane, his face lined with the ravages of Eastern Europe in the 20th century and all of the wars. I couldn't take my eyes off of him, and I looked at him. I finished my cake, and I went over and I sat across from him, introduced myself, and I said, "You're getting a tour of the building today, aren't you?" His eyes misted over, and he said, "All my life I've waited for this. I always wanted to come to America to see where it all began." "Where are you from?" "I'm from Prague, then Czechoslovakia." "And you're a Rotarian?" "I hope so," he said. "You hope so? What do you mean you hope so?" "Well, I was once a real Rotarian, Rick. I joined the Rotary Club of Prague in 1925. We were so proud to be associated with an organization that had its roots in the United States of America. We wore our pins with pride. We flew the Rotary banner outside the hotel where we met every week. And I said to my wife, let's save up our money. I want to go to America someday. I want to see where it all began. But in 1939, the Nazis came to Prague. And it was treason to be a Rotarian. Some of our members were shot and killed. We had to disband the club. We couldn't wear our pins. We couldn't fly the flag. But a few of us said, why don't we meet secretly in hiding every week for just a moment, lest we be caught and tortured, to remind ourselves that we were once Rotarians. And we did that, Rick. We did that for 6 years. It was a glorious day in 1945 when the Allies came to Prague. And for the second time in my life, I was a real Rotarian. I wore my pin with pride. We flew the flag outside the hotel where we met every week. And I said to my wife, let's save up again. I want to go to America someday. I want to see where it all began. But 3 years later, the communists came to Prague. And once more, it was treason to be a Rotarian. We couldn't wear our pins. We couldn't fly the flag. We couldn't meet. We had to disband the club. But a few of us said, well, we did it before, let's do it again. Let's meet secretly in hiding for just a moment or two, every week or every other week, lest we dare. And we did it again, Rick. But this time, we did that for 42 years. I just stared at him. How different his life had been from mine. How many 42 years does a person have in a lifetime anyway? 2 if we're lucky. He said, I knew that I would never get to America. I knew that I would die before I ever became a real Rotarian once more. But last year, Rick, a miracle happened. The wall came down. And you and Sherry must come to Prague next spring. We're going to recharter the club. And I made it today. My wife is too sick, she couldn't come. But I had to come. And Rick, once more before I die, I'm going to be a real Rotarian. I can see him tonight. I looked into his eyes and I said, you've always been a real Rotarian. I saw him once. He stood a moment there. His eyes met mine and laid my spirit bare. He held my hand and passed beyond my ken. But what I was, I shall never be again. Commitment. And what about you? What is your commitment to your club next year? What do you feel for what you're going to do? We ask you, we plead with you to be the uncommon leader, to give it the best, to change your club from what it is to what it ought to be. Conviction, what you know. Vision, what you see for your club next year. And commitment, what you feel for what you're going to do. A great theologian, past president of Rotary International, from Salt Lake City, named Richard Evans, challenged the Rotarians of the world when he was our president with these provocative words. It sometimes seems that we live as if we wondered when life was going to begin. It isn't always clear just what we're waiting for, but some of us sometimes persist in waiting so long that life slips by, finding us still waiting for something that has been going on all the time. There is no reason to doubt good intentions, but when in the world are we going to begin to live as if we understood that this is it? This is life. This is our time, our day, our generation, our one chance to do something for somebody else. This is the life in which the work of this life is to be done. This is it. Whether we are thrilled or disappointed, busy or bored, givers or takers. This is life. It's all we've got. And it's passing. What in the world are we waiting for? The second President of the United States, John Adams, summed it up succinctly when he said, only 2 kinds of people actually count in this world. Those people who make commitments and those people who keep them. Presidents-elect of Rotary Clubs next year, you've made your commitment. Go now and keep it. God bless you.
Keep standing. Rick, your message is always so special. We have a special presentation for you. Our operating chair, each year, the tradition is to give something to the speakers. And usually it's something that you have to hang on the wall or put on your head or something like that. This year, we decided to use that money, match it by an anonymous donor, and then have Bill and Melinda Gates match that, and the cumulative is $1,000 that we are contributing to the Rotary Foundation in your name. We have this small plaque still to hang on the wall, but to honor that contribution. And thank you very much for your presentation.
John, just what I always wanted, an autographed picture of Andy Smallwood. Thank you very much.
You're right, it is Andy. How did that happen? Well, we have some closing remarks, housekeeping, and then we'll be off to the hospitality rooms. But I do want to warn you, be a little quiet because we have other non-Rotarian guests in the hotel, and they might not like rowdy Rotarians. Okay, so breakfast in the morning, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. No meal after 8:30 a.m. It's not over till it's over, and you know who sings that. The district meetings begin at 8:30 a.m. For those staying in the hotel, you must have your parking ticket validated tomorrow at the main hotel registration desk. Those not staying at the hotel, but who possess parking tickets, those need to be validated at the head bellman station. I'd also like to ask you that as you leave, that you turn in your badges so that we can recycle and keep the costs down for future pets. Please go onto the app, complete the evaluations. They are extremely, extremely important to the quality of the future of our pets. Is there any other comments that anybody would like to make? Ryan, are you ready? Let's all please stand, join hands, and we're going to close the 5th plenary session of the 30th Lone Star Pets with the singing of the Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Please join me. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And we are adjourned.
Thank you.
You've done good.
Terrific introduction.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Well.
Super.
Whoops, so mine.